People walk up to me and say, my man, what's it like to be on television? I tell them, I say, it's live. You know why? Because on television, you can do whatever you want to do.
When Hangin with Mr. Cooper debuted on ABC in 1992, it arrived during the golden age of black sitcoms. Shows like Family Matters, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and A Different World were dominating television, bringing family-friendly humor mixed with cultural resonance. Yet, Hangin with Mr. Cooper carved out its own lane, offering a unique blend of comedy, sports, and heartfelt life lessons. What most fans never realized is that the show was more than just another 90s sitcom. It carried hidden stories about its cast, subtle changes in direction, and behind-the-scenes choices that shaped what appeared on screen. To understand why Hangin with Mr. Cooper became a beloved classic, we need to start with its premise, its characters, and the cast members who brought it to life. Hangin with Mr. Cooper told the story of Mark Cooper, played by comedian and actor Mark Curry. Cooper was a former NBA player whose pro career never quite took off the way he hoped. Instead, he transitioned into life as a high school teacher and basketball coach in Oakland, California. The show balanced Cooper's journey between adulthood responsibilities and his goofy, fun-loving personality. He wasn't your typical TV teacher. He was energetic, silly, and often got into trouble. But beneath the laughs, he cared deeply about his students, his friends, and his community. The series used this premise to explore themes of second chances, resilience, and the everyday ups and downs of life after failed dreams, a storyline that resonated with many viewers who knew what it was like to adjust when life didn't go exactly as planned. Mark Curry wasn't a household name when the show began, but his tall frame, comedic timing, and natural charisma made him instantly memorable. What fans didn't know is that Curry was discovered largely through his stand-up comedy. He had performed on its showtime at the Apollo and had guest spots on talk shows before landing this role, which became his big break. Interestingly, the role of Mark Cooper was originally envisioned with another actor in mind. Producers considered different comedic talents before Curry's audition changed everything. His ability to deliver jokes while bringing warmth to the character sealed the deal. Another little-known fact, Curry performed much of his own physical comedy. His exaggerated expressions, pratfalls, and high-energy movements weren't choreographed. They were extensions of his stand-up persona. That rawness gave the show its edge. Vanessa Russell, played by Holly Robinson Peete, was introduced as Mark's roommate and eventual love interest. Vanessa was stylish, ambitious, and full of personality, often serving as both foil and partner in Cooper's schemes. Most fans knew Peete from her breakout role on 21 Jump Street, but what they didn't know is that she originally hesitated to join Hangin with Mr. Cooper. Coming off a dramatic show, she wasn't sure about taking on a sitcom role. However, once she met Curry and saw the chemistry between them, she signed on. The chemistry wasn't just for the cameras. Curry and Peete became genuine friends off-screen, and their rapport helped make the banter between Mark and Vanessa feel authentic. Many fans even speculated that the two were dating in real life, though both have since confirmed they were just close colleagues. In the very first season, Dawn Lewis, famous from A Different World, played Robin Dumars, another of Cooper's roommates. Robin was practical, sharp, and often the straight man to Cooper's wild antics. Here's what most fans don't know. Robin was supposed to be one of the main long-term characters. But after the first season, Dawn Lewis left the show. The reason wasn't a feud or poor reception. She had commitments to her music career and other acting projects. Her departure led to a major shift in the show's dynamic. Vanessa took on a larger role, and new characters were introduced in later seasons to keep the ensemble fresh. But Lewis's short-lived time on the series left fans wondering what might have been if she had stayed longer. In later seasons, legendary actress and singer Nell Carter joined the cast as Principal P.J. Moore. Known for her powerhouse voice and Emmy-winning role in Gimme a Break, Carter brought gravitas and humor to the show. Behind the scenes, Carter was beloved by the younger cast members. She often gave advice to Curry and Peete about navigating Hollywood, drawing from her own career highs and struggles. Fans may not have realized how much she served as a mentor off-screen, particularly to younger actors guest starring on the show. Like many 90s sitcoms, Hangin with Mr. Cooper featured an impressive lineup of guest stars. Everyone from sports legends to music icons made appearances. One episode even featured NBA players, playing into Cooper's backstory as a former pro athlete. What most viewers didn't notice was how intentional these guest appearances were. Producers wanted to tie the series to real-world sports and pop culture to make it feel relevant and current. For example, having basketball stars appear wasn't just for fun. It reinforced the idea that Cooper really did come from that world. Another thing fans might not have picked up on is how much the show changed from season to season. The first season leaned heavily on the roommate comedy formula, with Cooper, Vanessa, and Robin juggling their personal lives. By the second season, with Robin gone, the focus shifted more toward Cooper's job as a teacher and coach, and Vanessa's growing importance in his life. Later seasons leaned even more into family and community themes, with the addition of new characters like Geneva Lee, Sandra Quarterman, and her daughter Nicole, played by young Raven-Symoné. Nicole, in particular, became a fan favorite, bringing precocious wit and charm to the show. Most fans don't realize that these changes weren't random. They were strategic. ABC wanted Hangin, with Mr. Cooper to evolve into a family-friendly sitcom in line with the rest of its TGIF lineup. The addition of Raven-Symoné and the family elements aligned the show more closely with hits like Full House and Family Matters. Mark Curry may have been the breakout star, but what many don't realize is how much pressure he carried in those early seasons. Unlike other sitcom leads who had long acting resumes, Curry was fairly new to television. He had a successful career in stand-up comedy, but carrying an entire primetime show was uncharted territory. Producers reportedly gave him free rein to improvise during rehearsals, knowing his comedic instincts were gold. Yet this freedom came with the weight of expectation. Crew members later revealed that Curry would sometimes stay late into the night reworking jokes or sketching out scenarios because he wanted every scene to land with audiences. And here's the twist. While fans saw his character as carefree, Curry was secretly racked with nerves about being compared to other black sitcom stars of the 90s like Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Martin Lawrence Martin. He knew the show had to carve out its own identity, and that responsibility sat squarely on his shoulders. By the time Hanging with Mr. Cooper began filming, Holly Robinson Peete was already a familiar face thanks to her role on 21 Jump Street. Many fans assume she jumped at the chance to star in another hit show, but what they don't know is that she almost turned down the role of Vanessa Russell. At the time, Peete was considering pursuing more dramatic roles to distance herself from sitcom stereotypes. In interviews years later, she admitted the deciding factor was actually the chemistry she felt during her audition scenes with Mark Curry. Their natural back-and-forth banter convinced her this project had heart. That choice reshaped her entire career, anchoring her as one of the most recognizable women in 90s television. But what fans might not realize is that her involvement wasn't just about acting. Peete would often step in behind the scenes, offering input on storylines and even wardrobe decisions, ensuring Vanessa felt authentic rather than a caricature. Long before she became a Disney Channel icon with That's So Raven, a young Raven-Symoné stole the spotlight on Hanging with Mr. Cooper. But her path to joining the cast wasn't straightforward. After leaving The Cosby Show, there were concerns about whether she would find a role that allowed her to grow. What most fans never knew is that the producers initially didn't plan for her to stay long-term. Raven's character, Nicole Lee, was first introduced in Season 2 as a temporary addition. But after just a few episodes, test audiences responded so positively that CBS executives insisted she become a permanent cast member. Behind the scenes, veteran actors like Mark Curry and Nell Carter went out of their way to mentor her, making sure she felt confident on set. This nurturing environment allowed her natural talent to flourish, leading to some of the show's most memorable moments. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Raven later credited Hanging with Mr. Cooper as the show that gave her the confidence to headline her own series. Without this stepping stone, her later Disney stardom might never have happened. Nell Carter, who played the sassy and sharp-witted PJ Moore, was already a Broadway and television star before joining the show. Fans loved her comic timing, but what they didn't see were the personal battles she carried with her to the set. Carter struggled with health issues and financial troubles during her time on the series. Despite her challenges, she often acted as a motherly figure to the younger cast members. Mark Curry once shared that Carter gave him advice on how to manage fame without losing himself, advice that stuck with him long after the series ended. Sadly, Carter's struggles became more apparent after the show wrapped, but during filming, she brought unwavering professionalism that elevated every scene she appeared in. The upbeat opening theme of Hanging with Mr. Cooper is instantly recognizable, but here's a secret: it almost never happened. The original plan was to use a generic instrumental track, but producers wanted something that reflected the show's fun, welcoming vibe. Holly Robinson Peete, who had a background in singing, was tapped to help shape the final version. She even recorded demo vocals for a draft theme song, though they were never used in the final cut. Instead, the producers turned to En Vogue and later Tone Loc to contribute to different variations of the opening sequence. This constant tinkering meant that the theme evolved across seasons, a rare move for sitcoms of that era. Fans might have noticed the changes in tone and lyrics, but few knew how close the show came to launching without a memorable theme at all. On screen, the show felt effortless, but off-screen, CBS executives were often nervous about its performance. Hanging with Mr. Cooper debuted strong but was frequently shifted around the network's schedule, making it difficult to build consistency. The cast never knew from season to season whether they would be renewed. At one point, producers even considered dramatically reshaping the show into more of a workplace comedy rather than a family-centered sitcom. Ultimately, they stuck with the winning formula of heart and humor, but the uncertainty kept tensions high behind the scenes. And here's where the story takes another turn. Rumors swirled during the later seasons that the show could end without warning. For the cast, this meant every season finale was filmed with the possibility it might be the last. Can you imagine showing up to work not knowing if your show would even exist the next year? That looming shadow of cancellation shaped much of the later season's tone and direction. After Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Mark Curry continued performing stand-up and making guest appearances on television. But few fans know about the life-threatening incident that nearly ended his career and his life. In 2006, Curry suffered second-degree burns over 20% of his body after an aerosol can exploded in his home. For weeks, he was in critical condition and even admitted he considered ending his life during his painful recovery. What saved him, Curry later revealed, was the overwhelming outpouring of support from fans and fellow comedians. Jamie Foxx and Sinbad were among those who encouraged him to keep going. The accident became a turning point, reminding him just how deeply his comedic presence mattered to people. Though scarred physically and emotionally, Curry returned to the stage, proving his resilience. But here's the twist. Curry has said that his darkest days gave him a new perspective on fame. While Hanging with Mr. Cooper made him a household name, surviving tragedy made him appreciate the little things far more than ratings or red carpets ever could. For Holly Robinson Peete, the end of the sitcom was only the beginning. She transitioned into a career that blended entertainment with advocacy, becoming one of Hollywood's most respected multi-hyphenates. She went on to co-host The Talk and appear in numerous Hallmark Channel films. But her proudest role wasn't on screen, it was in activism. After her father's battle with Parkinson's and her son's autism diagnosis, Peete co-founded the Hollyrod Foundation, which provides resources for families affected by these conditions. Fans who only knew her as Vanessa Russell were stunned by her transformation into a passionate advocate and philanthropist. Yet behind her public strength, there were sacrifices. Peete has openly admitted that juggling career, family, and activism often left her exhausted. Still, she embraced the challenge, calling her time on Hanging with Mr. Cooper the training ground that gave her resilience to face real-world battles. If one cast member became a global superstar, it was Raven-Symoné. From Hanging with Mr. Cooper, she leapt into Disney Channel history with That's So Raven, carving out an empire that spanned music, acting, and producing. Fans adored her quirky humor, but what they didn't know is that the pressures of child stardom left lasting scars. In later interviews, Raven admitted that fame at such a young age caused struggles with body image and identity. She even confessed that she often felt typecast, boxed into the funny sidekick roles when she longed for dramatic opportunities. Yet despite the weight of those challenges, she became a trailblazer in Hollywood, later breaking barriers as one of the most visible LGBTQ+ figures in family entertainment. What makes Raven's story even more fascinating is that she often credited the Cooper cast, especially Nell Carter, for grounding her when the pressures of stardom felt overwhelming. Their guidance shaped the confident performer she became. Nell Carter's story is perhaps the most tragic of the Cooper cast. While she brought endless laughter on screen, her personal life was marked by struggles with addiction, financial woes, and health battles. After the show ended, she appeared in guest roles and stage productions, but stability remained elusive. In 2003, Carter passed away suddenly at just 54 years old due to heart disease complicated by diabetes. The news devastated her castmates, who remembered her as both a powerhouse talent and a loving mentor. Fans were equally stunned, many unaware of the difficulties she had faced after leaving the limelight. Even in tragedy, though, Carter's legacy lived on. Younger generations discovered her work through reruns, and her influence could be felt in the careers of those she mentored, including Raven-Symoné. Although Hanging with Mr. Cooper never reached the cultural dominance of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Family Matters, its impact was quietly significant. It offered representation during a time when Black-led sitcoms were carving out crucial space on network television. The show presented African-American characters who were teachers, parents, and professionals, nuanced portrayals often missing from TV at the time. And here's something most fans never knew. Producers received countless letters from teachers and coaches who said Mark Cooper's character inspired them to pursue their careers with more pride. What seemed like a light-hearted sitcom actually shaped real lives in profound ways. Many fans still wonder, what became of the Cooper family after the cameras stopped rolling? Mark Curry continues to perform stand-up, most recently appearing in comedy festivals and podcasts where he shares raw, funny reflections on his journey. Holly Robinson Peete remains an active actress and advocate, balancing film work with her foundation. Raven-Symoné is still a major force in entertainment, recently reuniting with Disney for Raven's Home. Dawn Lewis, who played Robin Dumars in Season 1 before leaving, went on to a prolific career in voice acting and stage performance. Even decades later, the cast occasionally reunites at events, delighting fans with nostalgic throwbacks. But what truly binds them is the shared experience of creating something that mattered more than anyone realized at the time. So, what did the cast of Hanging with Mr. Cooper reveal that most fans never knew? That behind the laughs were stories of resilience, reinvention, heartbreak, and triumph. That their sitcom, while often underestimated, left an imprint on both television history and the lives of those who grew up watching. And perhaps the biggest revelation of all, though the show ended in 1997, the lessons it taught about friendship, community, and perseverance are just as relevant today. But here's the real cliffhanger. With the wave of reboots and revivals sweeping through Hollywood, could Hanging with Mr. Cooper make a surprise comeback? Rumors have swirled more than once, and if the cast's enduring bond is any indication, fans just might see Mark Cooper hanging around again.